Hey everybody, Dennis here. Today we're going to be working on my 2005 Lexus ES330. Has the 3.3 liter V6. It's a pretty good vehicle, if I don't say so. I've worked on them for about 10 years at the dealership before I switched to Subaru. And anyway, the problem I'm having is the alternator. Last night the bearing started going on my way home. I honestly do not know if it's still charging or not. The light hadn't come on, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. But I will give y'all a start up and y'all can hear the noise it's making. As you can tell, that's pretty loud and pretty annoying. I'm going to check the battery with the voltmeter just to see if it's still getting juice. It's still charging, but that's awfully annoying. So we're going to replace it. I've actually seen a few of these cars come in with that noise and the battery not charged, so I don't want to take the chance of being stuck. So first thing we're going to do is disconnect the battery. It doesn't matter which side you do as long as you do one, but I'm going to disconnect the ground side. Alright, car's dead. I would give you an example of why to do that. If you do not do that and the hot wire on the alternator hits the body, you're going to blow a fuse. And it's not a fuse that's readily available. I know this from experience. Sorry, but my tripod is not tall enough to exactly look over the car. But this is an original alternator. It's a Denso. After you've disconnected the battery, there are a few nuts and bolts, not too many. You're going to have it's actually kind of hard to see even with the good light. There's a 12mm on the side of the alternator. That is a lock. Let's see if I can get a better view of it. That bolt right there is actually the adjuster, and right below it to the side, there it is the actual lock bolt. Those are both 12s. This one is a 14 on the side here. And then two 14s here. I'm just going to get that bracket out of the way. It just makes the job a little easier. So I'll try to set y'all up the best I can. Alright, there's going to be a little bit of freehand on this job just because it's kind of difficult to get everything in view with the tripod. So there's a 10mm nut that holds the main power wire to the alternator. There's also a connector. And on this side is the release. Just click, pull up, and then with that 10mm nut, you just unscrew it. But again, make sure you disconnect the battery before you do this. Alright, that's loose. There's also a 10mm here on this little bracket that does not come with your new alternator. You will have to take that bolt off. Alright, that's loose. So the wire harness is loose and out of the way. There's also one of these clips on the back of the timing cover. Just kind of pull it loose just to get the harness out of the way a little more. Give you a little more room. That wire harness runs down to your AC compressor. And it runs along, also it splits off and runs on the back side, and that goes down to the crank sensor. So what I'm going to do next is get this bracket right here out of the way. There's two 14s. There's a 14 bolt going here. I'm gonna loosen it for right now, and then there's a 12 nut a little further behind it. I'll have to show y'all that in a second. I'm gonna go ahead and get that out. Alright. Use a little air tonight. Alright, brackets out of the way. There is a 12 millimeter right here and a 14 right here, and I'm gonna take right now I'm gonna take the 12 nut all the way off, and I'm gonna loosen the 14 bolt and get this bracket out of the way. Heck. Alright, so that 12 nut. Now to the 14. Apologize again for the shaky camera. I'm doing the best I can with what I got. Now this bracket has a notch on it right there, so it just slides off. Now the next step is going to be to, if I can get the lighting and everything correct to show y'all. Let's see, can't see it from here. I got to loosen that lock nut, which is right here on the side, and then I can actually go ahead and take that all the way out because it does have to come out. So that 12's coming out right there. And that is a 12 millimeter, if I haven't already mentioned it before. And I'm not going to use the half length. I'm going to go ahead and use the short 12. Now some ratchet wrenches would really come in handy if you don't have some already. I'm going to go ahead and loosen that other 12, and for that, excuse me, I have a 12 millimeter 3/8 wobble socket, a short one that I bought specifically for these. Back when we used to do tune-ups on these a lot, you know, we'd replace drive belts every 60. So, oh man, these were good money making cars. Alright, now that alternator is loosened down, you can actually take, this is actually how you replace the drive belt for the most part on this car as well, for the compressor and the alternator. Sometimes these were a little bit of a pain to get off too, and get them back on, so loosen it up some more. Alright, there's the drive belt. Now I'm going to try to see if I can get this bolt off. Alright, and it is loose by hand. That, if you can see that. That bolt does have to come all the way out. There it is. That's that one. And then 14 right here See if y'all can see that with my hand blocking the light. This one has to come all the way out as well. Let's see how much more I can get out of it. This. Now it's finger tight. Alright, pull her straight out. This AC line's in the way, you kind of sometimes have to wrestle with them a little bit. Also, there's a 10mm on this AC line. Sometimes you got to pull it out of the way. Oh, I dropped it. Lovely. It didn't hit the ground, I can actually see it. So I have to retrieve that in a little bit. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and pull this alternator off. Just kind of go up and down and pull forward at the same time. This one was actually very easy to get off. One part is going to be getting out of this hole. I'm going to go ahead and take this 10mm off of this AC line. Go out. So that's loose. There she is. Alright, I'm going to retrieve that bolt I dropped and get ready to reinstall the new alternator. Alright, here's the new, here's the old. This is a reman. So, I'll go ahead and put the other one back in the box so I can go get my core money back. I actually would have preferred to replace it with a Denso, which is the OE from Lexus, but they want too much for it and the warranty is not good enough. So I'm going to take my chances on this. So here we go, put it back in. It's kind of the same way. Pull that AC line back. Kind of wiggle it under. Turn it counterclockwise. And I'm going to try to show y'all the best I can this bracket that the top piece of the alternator has to fit in. It is right here. These two ears have to fit on the other side of it, and it has this, I don't know what the technical term is for it. It's like a compression nut or something like that. When you put the bolt in and tighten it, it pulls the nut. It's got a little sleeve on this side, it pulls it out and tightens it. So that's going to be the next step, is wiggling that thing into place. Alright, so here we go. You got to get those ears on first. And I am going to start the 14mm bolt before I even mess with the bottom. It just involves a little patience. It's in through the first. Now I just gotta get it started on the nut. And it is. So now, this bracket on the bottom, again, this is very difficult to see because of the lighting and the placement. There's a bracket, that bolt I pulled out of the side. Just make sure you pay attention as you pull it apart so you can see exactly how it goes and where it goes. Because that bracket does go a certain way, down here on the bottom. And that again is for your adjustment of your belt tension, but it also holds the alternator in place. That's this long bolt that went sideways. And now I got this one started. Just got to get it run in a little. Because this alternator is a reman, it's been painted, so the threads are a little tight. If you got a thread chaser, it probably wouldn't hurt to chase the threads before you install it. That one's started. I'm gonna run it down with air because it's just so difficult to get to. Not tightening it, just running it down some. Okay. Now my next step is going to be getting my drive belt back on. Start with the crank pulley, which is back here in the back. Get it on there, then on the AC compressor, which is down underneath the alternator, and the alternator is last. You will have to do this by sight and by feel. I'll always try to make it a habit of running my finger across the belt, or the pulley, excuse me, to make sure it's on and in its groove. So now that I know it's on those two, I can get it on the alternator. And again, check it again, because it can sometimes have enough slack that it'll pop off. Now we're going to adjust the tension on the alternator belt. I'm going to get that wobble 12 again. There's one additional step I'm going to do going back together. This bracket I took off earlier, go ahead and put it back on. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and start at 12. Again, apologies for the light. Now I'm going to go ahead and adjust the tension on the belt, which is this bolt here. And this is something you're going to do just with experience, and also you're going to check the tension on the belt. Alright, as you can see, while the air compressor was running, I tightened the 14 the 12 and these two 14s right here. The only thing I have left is to tighten the lock bolt for the adjustment, which is that bolt again on the side. You can see it's still sticking out just a little bit. Alright, that's tight. So, if you don't have access to air tools, hand tools work fine, but I've used air tools on these since I've been working on them, so I'm kind of familiar with it. Now the next step is going to be to get the wire harness back on where it goes. First thing I'm going to do is get this little bracket back on the front. That was a 10mm bolt. The new alternator comes with a new 10mm. It has ears on it, and you'll see indentions on the alternator. If I can get the camera to look right there. You just have to make sure you put them on right. This is a very simple job, at least to me anyway. Put the protective cover back on and connect the regulator. So you hear it snap. That's done, that's done. I have this one clip right here, and then that 10mm I took off this AC line. And my negative battery connection. I'm gonna go ahead and connect that, and I will bring y'all back when I'm ready to start. Fire in the hole. That was due to the voltmeter connection coming loose. As you can hear, she's quiet as a church mouse again. That is how you replace an alternator on a 2005 Lexus ES330, and that should cover at least 2004 to 2006, I believe, was the years they made the ES330. It also kind of goes to the RX330 and some of the ES and RX300s. They're very, very similar. But thanks for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe, and y'all have a blessed day.